Hey guys, finding the perfect gift for the food lover in your life is easy, thanks to Goldbelly. Goldbelly ships America's most iconic foods, straight from world-famous restaurants right to your door. So if you want to treat someone to Joe's Stone Crab from Miami, Franklin Barbecue from Texas, or desserts from famous foodies like Ina Garten or Martha Stewart, Goldbelly has you covered. Just go to goldbelly.com and for a limited time, get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT. That's promo code GIFT.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, S-H-O-W, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. I'm delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425, except now that I say that, I remember I have no call screener today. Why? Well, our fallback call screener was not available, and our regular call screener, according to my calendar, it is hunting season in the South, and he decided to go kill things today. Literally, is this not the most redneck start of a program anywhere in the nation ever? I have no call screener on Open Line Friday because he's in the woods hunting. In any event, welcome. You can text Eric to 33777 to get the live stream, the show notes, and so much more. There will be no calls. I'm sorry, just the moment I told myself the moment I started the show, don't give out the phone number. I'm a little discombobulated. Prayers are appreciated. I am doing my show. I actually am live. It is 12:07 p.m. Eastern time. My wife is in the hospital, and I have been discombobulated this morning. I got home at 1 o'clock this morning. Well, actually, take that back. I got home about 11:45 this last night, and then still had to do my work, so I didn't get to bed until 1 o'clock in the morning. So my wife and kids let me sleep in this morning. I got up about 9 a.m., and my wife was upstairs, and I'd slept in the guest bedroom last night. Didn't want to wake my wife up. She was upstairs in our room packing. I said, "Where are you going?" "Hospital. Her liver is malfunctioning." So she is. I am here doing my job. She is. There's nothing I can do. She's like, "You might as well go to work. They're just gonna give me fluids, and we'll figure it out. We assume everything is fine. Just her liver enzymes are through the roof, so they're gonna give her fluids and flush it out and see what happens." So prayers appreciated, but that is the start of my day. I'm thoroughly discombobulated, and then see this note as I'm starting, hunting today for my call screener. So let's move to the news, shall we? How about that? John Bolton indicted. He has pled not guilty today in court. Remember the original reaction when it came out that the federal prosecutors were looking at John Bolton. There was all sorts of hysteria from the left. "Oh my gosh, John Bolton, now he's going after all his enemies. See. He's going after all his enemies." I told you at the time, my suspicion was there was more than meets the eye. Why? Because my gut was, and remains that oftentimes you have situations in Washington where people of certain prominence and visibility get a little loose, thinking they can do things that other people can't. And oftentimes they behave in ways that others don't necessarily behave. And John Bolton has been riding high with a wave of Trump opposition, and he probably got a little careless along the way and did something. Well, it turns out It was the Biden administration that started this investigation. When you hear the coverage or see the coverage of John Bolton's indictment today and his not guilty plea, before you rush to screaming about Trump, I do need you to understand it was the Biden administration that began the investigation, not the Trump administration. And based on what we now know, there were serious concerns about the way John Bolton handled classified documents, including, it appears, he notified the government based on the allegations that his email account had been hacked. It turned out it was the Iranians, and Bolton still was using his email account to send classified documents. That's a really big no-no. That's a bigger no-no than what Donald Trump did with classified documents. That's a bigger no-no than what Joe Biden did with classified documents. This is Eli Honig, not exactly a Trump supporter, but one of the fairest legal analysts in the media on CNN, talking with Jake Tapper. Well, we'll get to that eventually. Let's see here. We're having technical difficulties all of a sudden. Honig tells Jake Tapper that, in fact, there actually is a real and serious issue.
Well, Jake, if prosecutors can prove these charges, that's always the big if, then John Bolton's conduct, to me, is more serious, certainly than we saw in the investigations of Hillary Clinton, of Mike Pence, of Joe Biden, and even more serious than the conduct that got Donald Trump indicted. Let me tell you why. First of all, John Bolton didn't just mishandle this information. He didn't just keep it in a box in a garage or even scattered around a resort. He actively disseminated it to two people, according to the indictment, two family members who were outsiders, who had no security clearance over AOL, which, by the way, was hacked. Second of all, we're talking about the highest level security. The indictment talks about information relating to military attack plans, to missile launches, to foreign leaders, to sensitive sources and methods. And third of all, Bolton's team was not exactly forthcoming about this. There came a point where they learned his email had been hacked by Iran. They notified the FBI, but they omitted the fact that John Bolton was using that account to communicate with these outsiders. So I think if DOJ can prove this, this is big, big trouble for John Bolton.
Yeah, it is big, big trouble for John Bolton. And remember, you're not allowed to put stuff in an underlying indictment that you don't believe is true. They believe these things are true. Not only that, you again have to remember that it was the Joe Biden FBI and the Joe Biden DOJ that began the investigation into what John Bolton was doing. Now, while I don't think that Andrew McCabe is someone who gives CNN a lot of credibility, I do think it is worth listening to this from him.
The indictment is very serious, and it stands out to me from the recent investigations that we have seen of the poor storage, unauthorized storage of classified information, most notably the investigation of Vice President Pence and the investigation of Vice President Biden. In both of those cases, what prosecutors lacked was any indication, any evidence of intent to hold that material in an unauthorized place. And there's a lot of circumstances that support those findings. In this case, the opposite seems to be true. At least the allegations are that Mr. Bolton was frequently taking essentially his summaries of his day's work, much of which was classified material, and he, from his position, was certainly in a position to know that the substance of that material was classified, and sending it to person one and person two over unauthorized systems, open email systems like AOL and Google, things like that. So that allegation alone imparts a great deal of intent. It's going to be hard for Mr. Bolton to argue that those transmissions were inadvertent or that he didn't know that he was mishandling classified or national defense information. So that alone elevates the seriousness of this case and the strength of the prosecution far beyond anything we've seen recently in the instances of Vice President Pence and President Biden.
Yes, or Donald Trump, for that matter, you should note. More than Donald Trump as well. It's a serious allegation, and I'm a John Bolton fan, but it's a real problem. One more here. This is Jonathan Turley this morning on Fox News with Lawrence Jones.
Well, Lawrence, those clips, I can tell you as a criminal defense attorney, probably rule out his ever being put on the stand because while the court might not allow those to be admitted initially, they very well could be admitted to impeach him or rebut him. And I don't think he can take the risk because he looks like an utter hypocrite. I mean, this indictment really shows a level of casual treatment of intelligence information that's quite shocking. He comes across like a teenager in a chat room. I mean, he's sending this stuff by email after all the controversies that we have had for years about trying to secure this type of information. And Lawrence, there's two arguments here that will not work. One is, well, this is just old classified material. That doesn't fly. I mean, if the question is it classified or not? That's why jurors tend to view these as rather cut and dry questions. The other argument, which sort of was suggested by his counsel, is, well, everyone does this. This is just keeping a diary. That's not going to work either.
No.
Whether you transmit the document or the contents, it's classified and it's subject to these criminal laws.
Yes, and you will remember that John Bolton blasted Donald Trump for his handling of classified information. That was the opening of that clip, and there was no reason to rehash those clips of Bolton going after Trump, but John Bolton suggested that Donald Trump engaged in criminal activity just by having the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. John Bolton was sending the classified documents over AOL. Is this not the most boomer thing ever? The stash is sending his classified information over his AOL account. You know and I know he was typing with just his index fingers, banging away at the keyboard with two fingers. You know it's a boomer move. No offense to you boomers, but I suspect the keyboard had blue hair. Good gracious, this is just I'm sorry. I don't mean to make light of it in serious, but you just understand that John Bolton is old now. He was old at the time. He's sending the document, and it probably was just to his family based on what we can gather from the indictment. Hey, kids, look at this cool thing I'm working on today. Here are the missile plans. Hey, kids. And now he could go to prison for this. He was on television blasting Donald Trump for his handling of stuff. And by the way, I should note, it appears Donald Trump had no knowledge of the details. And in fact, I must reiterate, and it's very important to reiterate this point, when your friends at the No Kings protest complain about Donald Trump indicting his critic, John Bolton, you've got to point out to them, actually, Joe Biden began the investigation. This is Donald Trump.
John Bolton was just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
The case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person.
Yeah, because he came after you. Yeah, but look, the president had no involvement in this. The president didn't know. This was started by the Biden team, and it actually is very serious. And here's what you all kind of understand intuitively. There are people of prominence in Washington, D.C. on the left and the right who get a little cavalier. They are set in their ways. They are prominent. They get the TV gigs. They're known about town. And they don't operate the way you and I operate. They begin to think over time the rules don't really apply to them, or it's okay, I'm a smart guy, I've got it. And that is seemingly what happened in John Bolton's case. On his AOL email account, decided to let the world know that he had classified documents, literally, because his email account was hacked and he knew it was hacked and was sending information. That is a very serious allegation that was started not by the Trump administration, but by the Biden administration. And the Department of Justice appears to have the receipts to show just how serious it is. And it is a very serious matter. and we should not be dismissive of it. We should not jump to the conclusion that this was a partisan witch hunt by Donald Trump against his enemies, because it was started by the Biden administration, and we know that John Bolton's email account was hacked by the Iranians, and we now know the nature of the documents that he was sending. It doesn't matter that everyone else does this. It's like the mortgage loan stuff, the Letitia James and the Lisa Cook and all this stuff. It's like, oh, we can't prosecute this. Everybody does it. It's the same thing we're here now. Why is there a class of stuff that the good, wealthy boomers of D.C. do that we can't prosecute because everybody does it? I don't send classified information through my email, and I don't take out two separate loans, both of them listing as primary residence. Do you do that? I bet you don't do that. This whole idea that, oh, everybody does it, we shouldn't prosecute it, everybody's going to go to jail. I'm not, and you're not.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. That's out of habit because you can't call in. So I had a great time last night at an event for This Stuff Matters. You hear their radio bits on my live stream, and got home late last night, stayed up late working, and slept in this morning. My wife, she's been out of the gym for the last couple of months, and finally went back on Monday, and we suspect probably pushed herself too hard, and her was not feeling great yesterday. Went to the doctor. Her liver enzymes were very, very high, so she has gone to the hospital, and they are giving her fluids, and I'm keeping my text messaging app open in case she has to text me, and I will keep you guys posted. Prayers appreciated. We're not really worried, but just she's got to get that under control. So hoping the fluids will do it. When we come back, the shutdown continues, and for a while there, it was the Republicans who were getting the blame for the shutdown, and the Democrats. Remember, Chuck Schumer said, every day is better and better for us. Well, now the data suggests that's not the case. The data actually suggests the voters are turning on the Democrats as Republicans keep voting to open the government. The president's approval is up. John Thune's approval is up. And the Democratic approval is going down. And there's lots to suggest they're in over their head at this point. We'll get to it. First, I got to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them for less than $200. You save $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm is an air purifier, so it gets rid of dust, pollen. It gets rid of pet dander in the air. It kills 99.9% of bacteria and viruses that are pulled through the air purifier because it generates plasma. But it also generates ozone that goes out into the atmosphere of your home, touches the ionized particles you and I know as odors, and eliminates them. No odor can stand up to it because the ozone goes where the odor goes, and it wipes them out. And they're small. You can put one in your travel bag. I keep one in my travel bag, and they just work. So you go to EdenPureDeals.com, put in the discount code ERIC3. You get 3 of them for upstairs, for downstairs, for your basement, for your travel bag, for your RV, wherever you need them. You plug them in when it's stinky air. That's how I use them. When the stinky air goes away, you unplug them, you put them up, you save them for another day. I've used them in rental cars to get smoke out of rental cars. I've used them in my kitchen to get rid of the fry odor. I've used them in hotel rooms when someone smoked. and they just work. EdenPureDeals.com, the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3. When we come back, we got to get into the shutdown politics of the day. There appears to be no progress. Marjorie Taylor Greene, yet again, siding with the Democrats overnight. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. Happy to have you with me. The phone number, 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, it's kind of weird that we are in a government shutdown and nothing feels shut down. We are another day. It's now, the 17th day of the government shutdown. It's like my marriage. I got married in the year 2000, so since it's 2025, I know I've now been married 25 years. The government shutdown happened October 1st, so I know it's October 17th. We've been shut down for 17 days. They've even taken the shutdown ticker off CNN at this point. Nobody feels like we're in a shutdown, and this is very important for you to understand. This is this is the most important thing you'll probably learn on the show today. You should listen to the whole thing, but this is your most important thing of the day. If the shutdown were helping Democrats, there would be wall-to-wall media coverage of it. That there is not wall-to-wall media coverage of the shutdown 17 days in means it's not helping the Democrats. CNN has taken its shutdown ticker off. MSNBC is on to other things. Fox News is one of the very few covering it, which tells you everything you need to know. It's not helping the Democrats at this point. The polling when the shutdown started showed the public blaming Republicans. As the shutdown has progressed, it's now tied as to who is to blame, which means the trajectory is against the Democrats. It's understandable that the public's first thought of government shutdown is the Republicans did it, because every government shutdown in my lifetime has been caused by the Republicans until this one. And the Democrats don't want to get blamed for the shutdown, so they're not really taking credit. Privately, through progressive channels, they're trying to signal this is a fight, but publicly on television, they're not trying to take credit for it at all because they know they'll get blamed. And yet, as the Republicans keep saying, we're voting to open the government, the Democrats aren't. And the Democrats have to say, well, the Republicans control the House and the Senate, so they could reopen if they want to by changing the rules of the Senate, which is not as clean as saying, they could do it, except you have the Republicans out saying, we're voting for it. The Democrats are blocking us. It's not an easy message for the Democrats to do. This is the president talking about Chuck Schumer on TV.
Mr. President, do you think that the government shutdown is all about this rally that's happening this weekend, the No Kings rally?
No, I mean, some people say they want to delay it for the king. This is
more
not a
than
king. You know, they're referring to me as a king. I'm not a king.
Right. No, but just so that Chuck Schumer could go and say, I'm fighting Trump.
Yeah, well, Chuck is, at the end of the line. He's being beaten by everybody that they poll against him. And, what he did is he did the right thing a couple of years ago on something like this. And he got hurt by his party. And it doesn't, I don't think it matters to him. I think he's just so dead that he'll do anything. I think they could just stay out forever. I mean, to be honest with you. Now, what we're doing is we're cutting Democrat programs that we didn't want because, they made one mistake. They didn't realize that gives me the right to cut programs that Republicans never wanted. Giveaways, welfare programs, etc. And we're doing that, and we're cutting them permanently. We're cutting a $20 billion project that Schumer fought for 15 years to get, and I'm cutting the project. The project is going to be dead. It's pretty much dead right now.
Look, I want to play this clip by David Drucker from The Dispatch. He was on MSNBC. I think this was Morning Joe, where he said this with the No Kings protest. Side note, I want to read you an email, and I want to be respectful to the listener. Let me find it. I saw it, and then I read it, and then I deleted it. I want to spend a little more time with the no kings nonsense later, but this is good morning. I will be protesting tomorrow in the No Kings protest in Canton. It's the first time I have ever protested. My wife, my 2 kids, my 2 brothers-in-law, my 2 sisters-in-law, and their 4 kids will also be protesting for the first time. We are doing this because we love America. For me, when Trump named Antifa a domestic terror group, that was the final straw. It is an ideology. This is nothing more than fascist. There's nothing more fascist than banning anti-fascist ideology. My sign will say D-Day was Antifa. Please note that none of us are getting paid by Soros. I listen to your show sometimes, and I wanted to speak up. Please understand that we are Americans too. I don't mean to be insulting to you, but you are an idiot. You're genuinely an idiot. First of all, you're defaming and discrediting the greatest generation who fought the Nazis, trying to wrap yourself in their moral superiority when you're showing up at a protest on a cool morning in October, really accomplishing nothing other than making yourself feel worthwhile. Not only that, but you claim that Antifa is an ideology. Actually, it's a group of people. And I know it's a group of people because, unlike you, I have friends who have been targeted by these individuals, who were harassed in church, who were stalked by individuals, who were threatened by these individuals. And guess what they called themselves? Antifa. They called themselves Antifa. It wasn't an ideology. It was a group of masked people who showed up in a church service to disrupt the church service because these people went to church there. It wasn't an ideology that took pictures of the kids at school and sent them in the mail to the family. It was people. It wasn't an ideology that fired bullets at cops. It was people who called themselves Antifa. And if you think those people are comparable to the men who stormed the beaches of Normandy, you are definitionally an idiot, and that's the mildest word I'm allowed to say without getting in trouble on the radio. Spare me your smug moral superiority. You're taking your kids to protest. Ooh, whoop-de-doo. You're not storming the beaches of Normandy there, buddy, are you? You're going to protest in Canton, Georgia. I bet you'll have some nice donuts, too, just like the men who stormed the beaches of Normandy. Good Lord. I'm sorry that you wasted your time sending me an email telling me how righteous this cause is. The thing that got you worked up, the thing that caused you to go protest on a Saturday morning so your kids can skip cartoons and breakfast, is Donald Trump labeled a group of people terrorists who actually have engaged in terroristic behavior around the country. It's an ideology. It's like the men who stormed the beaches of Normandy. So we're going to storm the central town square of Canton and go get donuts. We won't be dodging bullets. We'll be dodging cars across the street. It's the same thing. Holy moly, the smug superiority of these people. And you know the problem with this No Kings protest is that no one cares other than you smugly superior, arrogant people on the left who really think that's the big issue. There will be no oligarchs in America. Thanks to you people on the left, no one knows what an oligarch is because everybody comes out of high school illiterate. There will be no totalitarianism in America. Who the hell knows what that means? They got a public school education in the United States, and you people on the left destroyed that. This is David Drucker on MSNBC.
As I reported last week, a lot of Republicans don't have the same sense of dread approaching this midterm election as they did with that midterm election because they don't see the kind of energy and pushback to Donald Trump that they saw then. What political strategists and even I've talked to sociologists and pollsters about this have told me is that the issue of democracy, as motivating as it is for Democratic activists and as concerned as many Americans are about Trump's executive overreach, reach, that it doesn't have sort of the same heft as an issue that's going to push a lot of voters to the polls to vote against the Republicans, at least as things stand now, because a lot of people don't necessarily feel like democracy has worked all that well for them. They don't want to give it up. They don't want a different system, but they're focused on the price of groceries. They're focused on their economic well-being. And that's, I think, why we've seen Democratic candidates in these off-year races in Virginia and New Jersey and even New York, where Mamdani is doing so well, focus on the issue of affordability and not democracy, because that's what voters want to hear about.
You know, and this is the whole thing with the Democrats in the election last year. You got the Democrats last year. People are worried about affordability in the Democrats, but it's democracy. Groceries are too expensive, but we got to save democracy. I'm struggling to get health care, but you have to stop Trump to save democracy. But my bills are too high, but democracy. My kids aren't learning in school, but democracy. How do you not support democracy? You must support democracy. It's democracy. But I want to take care of my family. Democracy. You got these idiots out there with no kings protest, marching in the streets. Woohoo! We're going to have no kings in America. We want no kings. Tell Donald Trump we want no kings. By the way, the man is term limited. He's going to be gone January 20th of 2029. He's not a king. He doesn't wear a crown. And these people are like, screw your grocery bills. We got to save democracy. It's the same problem they had in 2024. That's why they all just think about the messaging. Republicans, let me give you a hard and painful truth. This is from CNBC. CNBC interviewed nearly a dozen small business owners to get a better understanding of how much tariffs are costing them and the impact the duties are having on their strategy and operations. Many of the small businesses said they've been forced to freeze hirings, pull back on growth, take on new financing, or cut salaries to keep operations going. It's to the point now where it could kill us. It could take us down. I could lose everything. Being a small business owner isn't worth it when your country turns on you, says Jared Hendricks, the CEO of Village Lighting, a small business selling Christmas products. Varish Vermar isn't sleeping. The CEO of AV Universal Core, a small footwear company that sells to retailers like Macy's, Nordstrom, and DSW, says he's got to take out a $250,000 loan to pay his tariff bill on a container of shoes he imported from India for the holiday shopping season. He didn't have cash on hand to pay the duties. And what are the Democrats out there campaigning on tomorrow? We want no kings in America. The American people are the kings. We want no kings. We got to save democracy. They're not talking about groceries. They're not talking about tariffs. They're not talking about blowing up drug lords in the Caribbean. They're not talking about any of the stuff that the American people actually care about because they're so mind-numbingly stupid. They're going to go show up in the town square tomorrow and talk about, we're here for No King's Day. We don't go to church on Sunday. We go protest on Saturday. Woo! This is why the Democrats keep losing over you, Donnie Deutsch.
And Donnie, we should also note this protests, technically are calling for Democratic leadership to step up too. It's not just Trump specific, but it is pretty much centered on Trump, and it's reflective. The energy that's out there, and the crowds expect to be huge this weekend. A lot of Americans unhappy with where the country's going.
Yeah. I think they'll be peaceful. We've had them in the past, and obviously there is the right to protest, and I think both sides need to behave. Obviously, anybody at the National Guard side has got to behave. The protesters got to behave. It's an interesting time to be doing it. Trump is coming off his most successful week ever as a president. I mean, there's universal backing in terms of obviously what happened with Israel and the fantastic job he's done. So it's an interesting week to be coming out against Trump. I don't know if I would have picked this week to do it, but we'll see what happens.
Yes. The man just got American citizens who've been held captive for 2 years by Hamas in tunnels released. And we're going to go celebrate and say, no kings in America. We don't care about your grocery bills. We don't care about the tariffs of the small business. We don't care about any of that. Oh, my gosh, he labeled Antifa a terrorist group. I've got to go take to the streets. And and the Democrats wonder why the American people still hate them more than they hate Donald Trump. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. In a few moments, we may be jumping to the White House because the President of the United States is meeting with the President of Ukraine before the President of the United States heads to Budapest to meet the President of Russia. By the way, I figured it out. If you would like to be a part of the program today, you can email us a voice memo. You need to say your name, doesn't have to be your full name, first name and where you're from and what your point is. Email contact@ewerickson.com. My team needs to work today anyway. It's a Friday. I got one of them hunting and two of them probably preparing for football this weekend. So if you email contact@ewerickson.com, you can send me your voice memos, say your first name and where you're from. Oh, look, we got Ole Miss versus Georgia tomorrow at 3 p.m. and Tennessee versus Alabama at 7:30. Would it not be hilarious if Tennessee beat Alabama tomorrow night? I mean, that's going to be a fun game to watch, I bet. There is good football this weekend. Okay, when we come back, I want to bring you the latest on the situation with the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine. Remember, President Trump has been flirting with the idea of sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Those would be long-range missiles that would allow Ukraine to blow up the drone manufacturing plants inside Russia. The Russians have drone manufacturing plants that they have built close to the front, but further than they know the Ukrainians are capable of bombing. So they can build them and rapidly deploy them because they're outside the range of the Ukrainian weaponry. But if the Ukrainians get Tomahawks, suddenly they either have to move the factories further away from the front, which will take more time to deploy them and give the Ukrainians more notice, or their plants get bombed. Republicans and Democrats alike in the Senate are saying they may actually vote, even though the government is shut down, to pass a Russia sanctions bill that the House has already passed. And then there's this weird story I got to get to. Those of you in Lafayette on KPEL, what the heck is happening? We got the Cajun Navy, and now we got the Cajun terrorists. We got the Cajun Navy are a bunch of heroes. The Cajun terrorists apparently was helping Hamas. We got to deal with this guy. We'll get to that news as well. First, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College. Hillsdale College wants you to take one of their great classes for free. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com today. You sign up with Hillsdale College. You take one of their 40 classes completely free. Take the one on capitalism. Take the one on the Federalist Papers. Take the one on C.S. Lewis. Take the one on the Constitution. Take the one on the early Roman Republic. Who doesn't think about Rome on a daily basis? I know I do. You can take some great classes on Rome and Roman history. You take ones on economics or chemistry or math. All you have to do is go to ericforhillsdale.com. You don't pay a penny. There's no charge. Every class consists of 30-minute videos. Depending on the class, depends on the number. ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up with Hillsdale College today. Get smarter at no charge from Hillsdale College. You can thank me later. Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. When we come back, the presidents of Ukraine and the United States meeting in the Oval Office.